So here we are going into the third turn of Liberte. I started dealing out the cards to the blue player after having set up the player turn order and realized I did it again. I forgot to put the people here. Now I went back to my video and luckily was able to, but that's a persistent problem I'm having here, is remembering to put those there at the election time. I don't know if everybody has that problem, but it's sort of a... I don't know, it feels so clean and easy to just put your pieces away afterwards and forget about that little step. And luckily I have the videos to fall back on and say, oh yeah, these people they created votes at that point. Anyway, I'll keep filling out hands. But we'll see, it's kind of interesting because of the turn order. The reshuffled deck doesn't go at all to the blue player. We'll see if purple throws enough to get into it, but it is definitely fixed by player order there. First time around the board, I keep forgetting to move this, and a lot of the empty spaces have filled up. Saw a couple of interesting things. First of all, we saw good old Napoleon show up. Not used militarily yet, used to place some blue pieces in the blue area. But let's see. Purple played towards red, which isn't surprising at all. Spread out over a bunch of areas. Green played in the battlefield zone. Orange followed up with 2 in the battlefield zone, which is kind of a weird situation because orange has been playing for white all game, and if those battles are won, if they're lost, white gets a bit of an advantage there. But his white holdings aren't necessarily that strong. He's won some elections, which reduces them. Kind of, I don't know, this, something a little odd about that, but it makes sense that, you know, the people wouldn't be as happy with whoever they elected, perhaps, that you have to keep sustaining that, whereas the opposition stays in the same place. It's a little funny mechanic, but I think it makes some sense. Pink went on with their blue holdings, and then finally yellow also played some blue holdings down here to challenge. In part, some of these are playing to oppose the possibility of a white takeover. I think it's pretty hard to have happen in this kind of circumstance where only really one player's been focusing on white. We see a couple of pink pieces that are white. So it's conceivable that they could catch up if that kind of situation came up. Well, we had a quick end of a turn there. The blue pieces ran out really on the second time around, no? And not much happened. Few plays. There are, yellow actually wanted to play towards blue, and there were no counters left to play on it. There was nothing they could really do to cause blue counters to come out. So they just played towards red with a hope of maybe red will win. I'm not sure which one's going to take the victory this time. Battle is going to go very clearly to orange, giving them 3 quick victory points. They don't have to play any cards or anything, commit any cards for that to happen. Oh, no, it isn't. I lied. They have no general out. They didn't get a chance to put their general out. Who was the other one out in there? Green, I think. So green gets those 3 points instead. Sweet. Yeah, you actually need a general to lead the troops. So green got the quick points there because of the fast ending. And I think this is going to end up kind of a nice turn for green. Well, they don't look like they have that much power. We'll see how the elections go. Starting off down here with blue and green fighting in support of blue and red, respectively. Red can't win. Blue could. It would mean committing Napoleon for this. I'm not sure it's the best place. There are areas that are worth automatic victory points. that might be worth more to commit red for, or to commit Napoleon for. Of course, he's facing a 3-pointer there. Is he looking at challenging anywhere else that it's important? Does he want to just hand that off to purple? Or maybe both of them discard a card on that? Hard call. We'll see. So it wound up being an incredibly close race between red and blue, but blue ended up with the victory. So we'll put all the people, remembering to actually do it this time, who have blue counters here into the government box. And in particular, which one's in the lead? Well, we've got 2 counters here. Looks like only 3 for green, 3 for yellow, 4 for pink. So pink has won the government this time, and they get the big 5 points for that. Now some of the players have managed to get victory points for some of these spaces. I've marked them as I went. I know blue got 1, orange got this double point one here. This one went, I believe, to, I don't remember. I think it went to yellow and I didn't mark it. I think so. Yeah. Anyway, let's look at second place for this. Well, that looks like it's a tie between these two with 3 points each. Now, they would split the second place points, except green can take them all by putting this leader forward. Yellow doesn't have a blue leader. They had to play one to get there. So green gets 2 more points, pulling up into a powerful position. And now the question is, who has the most reds? That's clearly purple, who played hard for red. And they'll get the 3 points for that, putting them right in the lead. At this point, now that I've got the government assigned and I've played the chits, I can actually get rid of these. And I think we'll notice that a few more counters are going to be available next turn. Maybe not that many, but a lot of the blues seem to have come back, I think, which means the turn may last a somewhat more reasonable amount of time. One of the problems was there weren't a lot of blue counters, and a lot of people had blue committed on the board, so they wanted to improve blue. It was really kind of shocking how well red actually did in this. Of course, by winning votes, and this is how orange preserved their position by not winning many votes, they're losing counters to there, and it's quite possible that white may end up in a powerful position. Probably not enough to win the game by an insurrection. Right now they only control one of their white areas. There have been 2 battles fought in one. So there's not really an issue there. Now here's what's kind of interesting. I guess in the... I should leave these out. I guess in the battle phase, white can win the game just before the end of the game. I had a discussion on the Geek. According to the rules, it's very clear that the game is sort of over after that last election. So there's no chance for white to win that election and win the game through an insurrection that way. Got kind of a tight showing here. 3 players right up there at the top. And then the other 3 are kind of trailing by quite a bit. And it's going to be hard for any of them, I think, to gain ground. This doesn't feel like a game where you can gain huge amounts of points in one turn, although we did see blue got a lot in the second turn. Go forward to the 4th turn here. The battle in the 3rd turn was worth a lot less, only 3 points. It's one of the reasons people weren't as interested in it. Battle in this 4th turn is worth 5 points. That's as much as winning the election itself. Got to decide who I'm keeping, who I'm not. And there's a whole full deck of cards ready to be redistributed. So beyond the high value of the 1 victory point battles for this last turn, I'm also noticing kind of on this last turn, not so much did it feel this way on the others. It feels as though the luck of your draw is more important, because your position is probably fairly well defined at this point. You have a lot of pieces on the board of certain colors. You may have some opportunity to switch directions, but most of the players in this game seem to have headed in one direction or another. And those who haven't are kind of not doing terribly well. So, for example, yellow has a couple of blue pieces, but that's not really enough to feel like they're devoted to one side or the other. Although they did discard based on that. But for many of the others, it feels like if they luck into a good draw, and a couple of them I think did, that puts them in a much more powerful position. You also see both this turn and the last turn, nobody wanted to take these. The guillotine, maybe I'm mistaking the value of cards that you have in your display area. They certainly are valuable for tiebreakers or whatever, but it seems so much more important to play something that gives you territory or gives you cannons than to try and win the ties that might result from that. They're great cards when you draw them, but I can't see really going after them. The 2-point blue leader, I'm surprised he hasn't gone, but people kept feeling like, I want to get more stuff. I don't know. That's, a mediocre card at best. Certainly, I could see saying, yeah, that's good enough. But I tended to just grab a pile. Hey, I need 6 cards. What the hell? I'll just grab them. First time around, and only blues played into the battle zone. Played with a general and a cannon. Doesn't want to get stuck in the position that, orange was in last turn. Although green hasn't played anything, they went for a draw. First time we've seen a draw last turn. We certainly didn't see one last turn. Last turn went so fast. People playing towards their fronts as their colors go. Yellow was in kind of this optional position, and they played into the blue to try to develop that. A couple more times around, white had actually gotten to a point where they were controlling 4 of the areas. That's been changed since then. Blue went in, or pink went in with a blue area into that valuable Vendee area. But this struggle is continuing. Blue player has given up on the military because green was just pumping so many cannons out. They had those cheap 1-point cards and could just flap them down and grab that. They have a general, so they're going to be able to get it. Blue has the cards they could catch up, but they just don't think that they can. They may be right, they may be wrong. It's hard to tell. But they felt like, okay, if it comes to a gamble on this, green's got the edge right now. Let's say the turn ended quickly, and it could with all those blue pieces gone. Then I'm going to fall behind both green and purple, who are the 2 leading players over there. And I've got a shot if I play this right. But if I don't, if I don't get one of the big point value things here, I'm just not going to be able to catch up because green, let's say they beat me for the cannons, well, then I will come in 3rd place. Maybe I can beat purple out in the political side and maybe come in 2nd or even pull off a 1st place victory. If I got the cannons alone, I'd have a good shot at 1st place. Hard call because I already played a couple pieces towards that. But maybe I can kill that general with a card. There's a guillotine up here. That sounds impressive. I think I'll draw it. Okay, so then, and we had somebody actually draw one of those? No, we decided not to. The purple player's going next, and he's not too interested in blue right now, but he might be interested in ending the turn. Green certainly would be. Well, blue did assess that the turn would go on and drew that card, thinking if I can get rid of that general, I'm golden there. And they were mostly right. Almost everyone had things to do to feather their nest, except yellow. Yellow looked and said, I'm so far behind, maybe if I end this early, I can place better than last place, especially if I play 2 blue and grab myself a bonus area and a shot at a victory point area that I can get easily. My cards, they're just not going to do it for me. The guillotine, yeah, I could maybe win a tie, but this way, I think this is the best I can do to maximize my points. So, before this happened, there's no way that white got to their 7. And we're going to reassess the points at this point. It's pretty clear white's not going to win this election, I think. It looks like another blue or red one coming up. Let's see which one it is. Kind of depends on how things fall. Maybe blue has the advantage again. They keep having the most pieces on the board, but that hasn't mattered. In the first 2 turns, red ended up winning the elections. Let's see. And here we are after the final voting. Blue managed to squeak out another victory. On the battles, I already recorded it, I forgot to mention. Green got the 5 points. That puts them way in the lead there. No one was able to stop them, particularly blue wasn't able to hunt them down. So now, who has the most blue dominance? Well, people who aren't in the running. Yellow gets the big 5 points. Because nobody's going to stop them. Nobody's going to try to prevent them, right? And then pink gets 2 points for second place there. And now that I know it, I could reach out and grab. Got 4 people in the government now. But what's kind of cool here, it doesn't matter because it's the end of the game, but last turn we faced this. Things like the terror and the not the purges, but I guess just the terror, required that not only the player be in the government, but that it be the radical government. So things have mellowed out over the last couple turns. Okay, let's see who came in second, who's got the most reds for that second point. And that looks like, clearly it's good old purple, who was in a strong red position and kept playing for it solidly. They thought they could win. They came close to it, but, you know, it's not like it's a foregone conclusion that you can just look at the map and say, red's gonna win this election, so I can divide this, etc. Even in the midst of the election, there's some question in your mind who's winning. It looked like blue was taking off with this, and it ended up being a 1-point game, 1 point in terms of the vote for this. So you don't know who's going to push forward what. You can look and kind of predict, but especially not on the last turn. They might want to hold a card rather than win an election. The election may not be worth anything to them. That's something I have to kind of learn when playing this, especially if I'm playing it opposed. But let's take a look at what purple gets for that. They get 3 points, which is going to put them right up there in second place. Blue, because they lost the battle and didn't get anywhere. They didn't get any powerful votes in red or blue. Didn't get any additional points. They stopped and kind of hung there. It's an interesting game. I like how the mechanics interplay. I think at times in the game I forgot about aspects like, geez, why don't I draw one of these events early in my turn? Maybe it'll help me catch up somehow. Maybe it'll give me that little impetus to win a battle or over a contested region. But that's really what it comes down to, is that those seem so much less valuable. And I mentioned this a little earlier in this bit. Those seem so much less valuable than grabbing the territory, especially when, as there is at the beginning of turns, and you don't know how long the turn's going to go when there's only a small pile of pieces there. A lot of empty space. Hey, let me claim that. Let me claim that. But you don't want to claim it just for whatever you can fit there. You want to make sure that it's something that can help you. And that's kind of that level of thinking. Hey, is this card I'm playing doing me any good? That didn't really come across in my playing, although I think it would come across a lot easier actually sitting down and playing the game with other people. There's a lot of thought here, a lot of decision making, a lot of different options that you can take, many of which aren't going to help you. You know, we saw yellow and pink barely made it through until now, when it was so obvious that they were far behind that anybody could give them whatever they liked. Whereas people who kind of concentrated and focused on a goal, if that goal is, I want my color to win and I want to put everything there, I want the battle, or like blue did on the turn where they got the most points, including the battle, let me see if I can come in and place high on both. Now they had to do that right though, because they only got second place in red and first place in blue that way, which means that if they had reversed that, they would have gotten less points, I think. Well, no, they would have gotten the same points. They got 5 points off the elections, which is the most you get, for first place, right? You could get up to 8 if you really ran away with it. And that's kind of what pink was looking at, or yellow, I don't remember which one. I think pink with, I got to get both colors up there to make a real showing. And instead they ended up tied for last. But not that far behind some of the people who haven't gotten any traction. The white, they got a couple of points off some of these areas with the victory points in them. They feel like they should be more heavily contested. Some of them went pretty cheap, actually. But the colors of cards you have in your hand restrict what you can play, and they restrict the options on you. So, for example, is it really worth playing this dude for a victory point? Let's say you put 2 whites over there, if you could. Blue couldn't. They already had a piece in there. So they couldn't even do that. I think the answer is yes, but not if it means losing this or losing the big election. So you have to kind of balance things. Look at your position in the game. Look at where you're going to be. How much is that 1 point or 2 points worth? And in general, people didn't seem close enough that those points were what they wanted to go for, because even if they were close, like green and purple ended up running scores in the game. Well, purple had to worry about green's battle. Purple couldn't go getting 1 or 2 points and guarantee a win. Now, I could see circumstances where you could play a very cautious game at the very end because you're so far ahead and just target some things that you know you can get, and you're pretty sure nobody else is going to catch you unless they all collude against you somehow. But anyway, I'll be back with a review.